If I asked you, what is the one thing that is holding you back? Would you know what to say? Would you and arm, or would you be able to point out exactly everything that is holding you back from getting the life that you want? Well, I'm here today to help you figure out exactly that. Because within every one of us, there is a permanent liar that is sitting on one of our shoulders and is telling us that everything that we want to do and everything that we are about to get started is going to be terrible, and we're going to fail, and it's just going to be a disaster. And because this voice is so convincing, we end up thinking it and ending up not doing rather than doing instead. So my name is Einab Avni. I am a confidence and empowerment catalyst, and I work with people on identifying the negative self-talk and limiting beliefs so that they can create the extraordinary life that they deserve to have. And what does that look like on everyday life? So each and every one of us has two voices, two main voices that help us to play our lives. On the one hand, we have the unconscious mind. Some people like to call it the subconscious mind. The unconscious mind has a few roles. One of them, for example, is to keep all of our memories and all of our experiences to one side. So the unconscious mind knows everything about us, where we've been, and more importantly, perhaps, where we are going. The unconscious mind has one main role, and that is to hold the blueprint of the best version of ourselves, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And the unconscious mind, with this magnificent role, constantly trying to steer us in the right direction. So all of a sudden we go down the road and then we have this thought about, wouldn't it be amazing if I tried something, if I enrolled in a new course, if I learned a new language, if I go in touch with someone, all of these things, we have this idea that we should do something. This excitement, this is exciting idea comes from the unconscious mind. But what then tends to happen is that this voice is immediately being rejected by our negative voice. The negative voice lives in the other entity, which is the conscious mind. The conscious mind is the home of the thinking and the logic, realistically, practically, all of this kind of stuff. And the conscious mind doesn't know anything about us. So we have the unconscious mind, which is the home of the emotions and the feelings and the creativity. It's the thing that knows everything about us, where we've been and where we're going. It has the complete history of who we are. And on the other hand, we have the conscious mind, which has practically no memory of us, doesn't know anything about us, barely remembers what we had for breakfast yesterday, right? Doesn't know anything about us. And it's also the house of the logic and the thinking and the practical. It's also the house of the negative voice. So what happens is that we go down the street and we have this incredible idea of something that we need to do. For example, starting a new business. And we can see it all happening. And we have a big, really excited feeling that this is the best thing to do. This is coming from our unconscious mind. The unconscious mind just knows that this is what we should do. It doesn't bother itself with the how, because it trusts that the how will come as we get going. But then the negative voice wakes up and says, hey, not on my watch, not going to happen. And it comes up with the best lies that latch on your biggest fears to tell you why you shouldn't be doing that big idea that you just came up with. So for example, say I want to go and enroll, learn a new language. Okay, so I want to learn a new language, and the negative voice immediately comes up and says, really? You can barely speak the language that you speak now. No one can understand you anyway, even in whatever language you're speaking at the moment. What will it be like in a new language? Or, it's going to take you forever because you're too old. You're too old to pick up a new language. It's going to cost you so much money, and it basically goes fear by fear by fear and tell us what will happen if we go ahead with doing this big idea. And what happens at the end? I say, thank you for saving me. Thank you for making me not do what I wanted to do. A lot of people, when I talk with them about this kind of internal conversation, they mistake the negative voice with the intuition. they believe that this negative conversation is actually coming from the unconscious mind, saving them, telling them, don't do it. But that's not how it works. Unconscious mind knows, this flight or fright, freeze motion or notion, that comes from the unconscious mind. If there is something in the environment that needs our attention, that the unconscious mind says, oh, don't do it, don't go there, it's not good for you, it will let us know. Any other fear that is coming along, that is actually coming from your negative voice. So just think about it for a second. Everything and anything you ever wanted to do, you have to go through this huge obstacle of getting through the negative voice, because the negative voice will not want you to do today anything that you haven't done yesterday. And it's not for, just for fun. It has a really good reason. The negative voice is here to preserve us. So when we were, way back when we were in the savannah or in the caves, and we wanted to get out to just go and get some fresh air, the negative voice needed to say to us, hang on, if you don't absolutely have to get out of the cave, then don't. Otherwise, saber-toothed tigers will come, make you lunch, and that's it. You're through, you're finished. So the negative voice is in our DNA, but it's still active today, even though, sadly, I guess they're no longer saber-toothed tigers. So the negative voice all the time is sitting on our shoulder, paying attention to what we're doing, to what we want to do, to what we are about to do. And it's just telling us, don't do it. If you haven't done it yesterday, you're not doing it today. And if you have done it yesterday, then you're okay to do it today. So basically, really keeping us very small and very safe, very boring as well. So that's one thing that I wanted to speak about today. The other idea that I want to introduce is that a lot of how we are behaving today come from coping mechanisms that we created for ourselves when we were very young, up to the age of 9. So around the age of 9, there is a part of our brain, the neocortex, that is only developing around the age of 9. And that is the part of the brain that helps us to deal with emotions and relationships between behaviors. So up to that time, we may be feeling pain, we might be feeling discomfort, but we don't understand what is going on and what is causing it. So to make us feel a little bit less hurt or a little bit less pain, we create coping mechanism. And the problem is that we don't revisit these coping mechanisms until one day when we grow up, we say, hang on, why am I always doing this? Why am I people pleasing? Why am I avoiding conflict? Why am I? That's when we start digging back, going back, and then realizing that actually there was a reason. There was something in our childhood that made us create this coping mechanism that we're still using today. But the point is that we are going around life today as adults with the mindset that was introduced by a 5-year-old. So there is a mismatch. So why are we doing this? What is going on here? So one thing I really want you to take away from this conversation is that all of this behavior is put in place forever ago. These coping mechanisms are also being influenced by conditioning that we were a part of when we were very young. So as soon as we are born, and probably even before, we already have, culture and nation and, country that we belong to. We belong to so many little groups that influence and dictate our beliefs and how we show up to life and to the world. So all of a sudden, moving forward to when we're adults again, and we don't realize that we have coping mechanisms that were introduced when we were very, very young, and we have conditioning that also were put in place when we were very, very young. So nowadays, when you look at yourself and say, well, who am I? How do you know who you are when you've never actually had the chance, the choice, or the reason to even find out who you really are? And what is your drivers? What is your belief systems? The one that you yourself put there rather than the one that was given to you as, when you were tiny or when you were born. So all of these questions are really important when we want to talk about confidence. A lot of the time, like I said, if we are operating from fear Can I do this? Am I allowed to do this? What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? What happens if I say yes? What will happen if I say no? Can I actually, can I count? Can I trust myself to be able to pull it through? All of these questions, of course, they are valid, but they all come from a place of fear, which means that we are listening to the wrong voice. We are listening to the negative voice rather than the unconscious mind, because the unconscious mind knows that you can do it. This is the thing that actually gave you the idea in the first place. So you have the voice that knows and gives you the idea, and then immediately you have the voice that scares, that fears, and that tells you not to do it. And because the negative voice is so much louder than your unconscious mind, you go around saying, okay, didn't want to do it anyway, so I'm not going to do it now. So when you start thinking about life, when you feel stuck, when you feel unfulfilled, when you feel that, really, I don't know what to do anymore. I've been always trying again, trying this, trying that. Nothing ever happens. Nothing ever sticks. This is the point that we're starting a conversation in a different kind of way. So we understand where all of these behaviors and the beliefs, where they initiated from, where they come from. And we also understand, of course, that if they got given to us as children, of course, we never question them because we don't have a reason to. Now, the thing is that all of these negative conversations or fears that we have with ourselves, as I said, it's to do with the negative voice, but it's also a way that our brain is keeping us, actually, the brain is keeping itself a little bit less busy. Now, let me explain what I mean. So our brain collects information from from our surroundings all the time. Through our conscious mind, through our 5 senses, it collects 34 bits of information per second. So this is everything that we hear, everything that we feel, taste, smell, whatever. 34 bits of information per second. Now, from the unconscious mind, it collects around 2 billion bits of information per second. So as you can imagine, our brain is very, very busy. It has all the time, it has to process things that are coming in, coming out, coming out from all the different sources. Now, the brain as a supercomputer can't process all of this information all of the time, which means that what it needs to do to actually be able to survive is that it works on pattern recognition. It means that if you behaved in a certain way once, and then you apply the same emotions and the same behavior the second time, then it says, there you go, pattern recognition, this is a habit. And it's an automatic, obviously a habit is an automatic behavior. And it says, right, off you go. This is what I'm expecting you to do now. It doesn't want to process it anymore. The brain doesn't care, actually not at all, whether this habit is a good one or a bad one for you. All it cares about is that it's doing something that is now helping it to save on processing time. So how are we how are we bringing all of this together? We're saying that you have habits that is automatic. You have behavior that is automatic. You have the way that you show up into the world that is automatic. So if you say you have a job and you find yourself that you are very scared of meetings and to speak up because there's lots of people in the meetings and some people are much more important than you, according to yourself, of course. And maybe some people are decision makers that basically can make or break your future in the company. So whatever reasoning you give to yourself about why you should keep yourself small and quiet at play. Now, if you've done it once, you will do it again, which means that the brain is not thinking, oh, okay, let's see, how do you feel today? Do you want to speak? Let's figure this out. Let's see if this is a good topic to discuss today, or if this is a good environment to actually speak up. Not at all. The brain says, actually, okay, you have this fear. You're scared of speaking up. Last time when you went to a meeting, you were very quiet, and today, look, your nervousness is here again. Again, it's a habit now. And basically, it asks you to do the same today as it did yesterday. So I hope I am making this clear that actually what we do today is not being put in place today. It's something that was put in place many, many years ago. or it doesn't really matter how long ago it was put in place. But the important thing to understand now that this today is the results of things that were happening before. And now it is still in place because we haven't done anything to change that. So this is actually what I want to talk about now. So, what I want to say today is about how to get your life back on track in the empowered way. So there's a few things that you can do. So the first thing to realize is that it doesn't really matter how you see yourself today based on all of the conditioning that made you who you are today. There is still a part of you that is uniquely yours that maybe you haven't explored yet. But this part is uniquely yours because there is no one else in the whole wide world that has the same, outtake or way of looking at things in the same way that you do. Your combination is completely unique. Your strengths, your talents, your gifts, your values, your experiences, what you bring onto the table is uniquely yours. And a lot of the times what we tend to do is to look around the room or to see who is around us and compare ourselves to them and say, they are so much better than us. Who are we to speak up? Who are we to grab attention to ourselves? So we already, before we even had a chance to say anything, we already assume that we are not as good as the other people around us. But actually, this is very focused view of something that is completely out of proportion. Because in the same way that you are looking at other people thinking how magnificent they are, this is also you. You are also just as magnificent. Maybe you don't have the same experience. Maybe you don't have the same degrees. Maybe you don't have whatever. But there is something about you that is so beautiful and attractive and raw that other people look at you and say, that's what I want. She, whoever is so amazing. I want to be like that. I want to know more about this person. I want to be closer to them. The point I'm trying to make is that you maybe can't see for yourself your powers and your attractions and your light and your brilliance, but other people do. So first of all, what I want to say is don't compare yourself to others, because as soon as you do, you're giving away your powers. So what I'm asking you, that if you need to look around, at least see yourself in the same light. Say, we are here together. This is all of us, because each and every one of us has something to bring to the table that no one else has. And it's not about comparison. I mean, when you go in a team, for example, if you're part of a team for your work, each and every one of you has something that is more, something that is like a talent that is more profound. So each of us is bringing something to the table that together makes us into a whole, right? This is a team effort. We're working it together. And this is the same, even if you're not in a team. It doesn't really matter what is your environment. You are bringing with yourself something that is beautiful. And instead of hiding it and thinking, I'm not as good as other people, just remember that you are not being compared to anyone. You got these powers just because of who you are. So go around, open this treasure chest and show everyone your magnificent powers and talents and unique way of thinking. This is really the first advice that I wanted to give. The other thing I wanted to say is that remember that every step of the way, anything that you want to do, anything that you set out to do, there is always that conversation with a liar that is sitting on your shoulder and is trying to convince you or to tell you or to influence you to not do what you haven't done yesterday. I sometimes when I speak with my clients, I feel that they don't really understand the importance of this liar, because they think, yeah, it's just a negative conversation. No, this is not just a negative conversation. Understand that the power, the negative voice, the liar comes because it has a very positive intention to preserve you. That's its job. And I always say the negative voice is like, the best salesperson that there is, because it will give you the best lies to match your biggest fears. So it's like, I don't know, the thing that comes to my mind is like, you have the moon, you have the sun, you have the eclipse. When you have the eclipse, you can't see anything, right? It's completely darkness. This eclipse is like the conversation of the negative voice. It covers every corner, every, area of the moon. It covers every area of the unconscious mind. It is basically overrides what the unconscious mind knows that you can do. Am I making it clear? Do you understand that the reason today why you haven't gone to do what you wanted to do is because you have a liar sitting on your shoulder telling you that if you did that, you might die? And actually, I also want to make it very clear that this is a lie. You don't know that. Of course, don't go and touch electric wires. Absolutely not. But the other things that you can't actually prove because you've never tried them before and you've never done them before, this is the liar. This is just something that says, hang on, very irrationally, very randomly, did you do it yesterday? No. If you didn't do it yesterday, you will not do it today. Otherwise, you might die. Really, really important to understand that. Because when you understand that your procrastination and your fear of doing something, of your perfectionism, all of these things, it's not really because you're lazy or because of something like that. It's because you have real fears that are in place. The fears are, they're not justified, but you don't have a way of realizing it until we have this kind of conversation. So, first of all, if we're talking again about recapping the steps to take to empower your life, first of all, stop comparing yourself to others. I really think that this idea of comparing yourself should be outlawed. You are magnificent in your own right. And the fact that you haven't been able to recognize it yet, it's got nothing to do with anyone else. It's basically to do with your conditioning and the way that your beliefs have been put together, but they're not true. Next thing is to remember and realize that the only thing holding you back right now is a fear of something that is never been proven before. If I wanted to go and learn another language, is it true that no one will understand me? I don't know. I've never tried it. Okay, actually, this is my second language now. Do you understand what I'm talking about? I'm sure you do. Okay, will it cost me all that much money? Not necessarily, so basically what I'm trying to say is that we have these fears and we have this negative conversation in our mind and we are reacting to it. We're not reacting to the right voice, which is the unconscious mind, which said, go and learn this language. I was listening to an interview with Elizabeth Gilbert. She's the author of Eat, Love, Pray, Eat, Pray, Love, one of this combination of verbs. And she was saying that she was journaling for a long time, like every day, getting up in the morning, sitting down, writing anything that comes up to her mind. And after some time, she realized that there was a pattern that emerged that said, go and learn Italian. And she's like, I didn't even realize I wanted to learn Italian, but, it keeps coming up. So probably I should do that. And she said that she went to learn Italian and then she went to Italy, and that was the base of that book. And of course, then the movie. So that thing that eventually gave her the name and became one of her most known books came from a notion, something from the unconscious mind that says, you got to do this. So when you follow the unconscious mind, when you follow your gut, good things happen. And remember, you're always going to get one of two things, either exactly what you wished for, or you're going to get the best lesson that you needed for your life and that you didn't realize. And after you get the lessons, you will then get what you wanted. And actually, it's not our role to doubt and to ask all these questions. All we really need to do is to trust that what is coming is the best thing for us. Because when you look back on your life, you can see that really, with all the pain and all the difficulties and all the doubts and everything else that you want to, whatever you want to call it, it all worked out in the best way possible. And if it's not the best way in your opinion, then find a way to introduce new things to your life. You have a way, a choice, you have a chance to look at your results at the moment and say, that's not what I want. I want something else. And then you can do something about it. You can go and you can learn a language, or you can take another course, or you can take whatever it is that you want. The choice is yours. The other thing I just want to say, another step for getting your life back in the empowered way, is to have a plan, not a big plan. I'm not in favor of big plans because I find them to be very rigid. And also, most of the time, we don't know today what is going to happen tomorrow necessarily. So I'm not asking you to have a very rigid plan. I'm asking you to have an idea of where you want to go. And with this idea of where you want to go, I want you to put some steps in place of how you're going to achieve them. So, okay, let's go again to the idea of language. Maybe the first thing I can do is go and find a school or find a tutor. Then maybe I can decide with my timetable how many hours a week I can dedicate to that. So I'm not making big decisions and big plans. I know that I want to be able to speak the language, and now I am filling in the gaps. You see, so it's a very fluid plan. But what I really want you to take from this is the idea that anything can go wrong, but you have a choice. If you're sitting here today in a place of planning and hoping and being excited about something new that you want to add into your life, then you can say, okay, I want to learn a new language. What can go wrong? Maybe I will struggle with vocabulary. Maybe I will not have time to practice. Maybe I will feel, a little bit embarrassed about speaking in that foreign language to native speakers. So if I'm sitting here and I'm writing down everything that I believe can go wrong, and then I write down what I might be able to do about it. So for example, get an extra lesson or take a trip to that country so that I can actually, practice and immerse myself, in the language. So when you make this plan, you write everything that can go wrong and some possibilities that you might take afterwards. And what you basically are doing is that because you've already looked at what can go wrong, you already suggested what you will do instead. Then when you come to that scenario, your brain says, oh, okay, I know, I've already looked at that. So we're not going worst case scenario and, hey, I'm not going to do my course anymore. I'm actually doing, okay, I thought about this before. Let me see what I can do. So basically, by creating a plan of what can go wrong and what I can do instead, we are eliminating this negative conversation. We are eliminating the chance that the negative voice will come in and win because, it doesn't want us to do today what we didn't do yesterday. Keep this in mind. Remember that anything that you want to do, unless you got real proof that you can't do it, it's most likely coming to you from your negative conversation. And if it's coming from the negative conversation, it is just a liar that is just hoping to keep you safe. Thank you very much for keeping me safe, but I also want to live. So let's put this in perspective, and let's not just have a safe life, because really in the bigger scheme of things, we were not put on this earth to live a comfortable, safe life. So remember, last thing I think that I want to say, with every decision and every opportunity that you have two choices. You can step into powers, or you can go back into safety. If you follow my walk, you know that I only believe in stepping forward into power. This is where life is. This is where you find your possibilities and opportunities that you didn't know before. If you want to go back into safety, I wish you a pleasant life. But if you decide to step into power, I know you're going to have a marvelous life. Thank you so much for listening to me. I am Einav Avni, confidence and empowerment catalyst, working as Untangled Coaching. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day and a wonderful life. And I will see you shortly. Bye-bye.